I just figured I'd do a quick update, truck and trailer update. And I haven't done too much. I've been pretty busy working on a deck on my house, and I still have to do my railings, but ripping off the decking and putting the new stuff down, picture framing it. It's kind of occupied a lot of my spare time, along with some weeks 10 to 12 lawns with a full-time job. But anyway, truck's still here, and the good news is it just passed inspection, which in this state can be tricky, especially for older trucks, commercial trucks especially. They're not, as I talked to one guy, one inspection place at work, well, for a work truck, for a Ford, and that truck's a lot newer than this one. It's an '01, and I got a rejection, and he could have rejected me for a bunch of stuff, and long of the short, I fixed it. It just had a small hole in the floor, but I rejected it, and he basically told me in Massachusetts they want them to reject everything, and I don't doubt it, because it's more money. But the one area I was nervous about on this was I had a good size hole in here, and I just Mickey Moused it with a piece of sheet metal that is held in pretty good, and it's kind of notched and bent and seam sealed in there, and it's not going anywhere. And then I just sprayed it, but these inner fenders are kind of crunchy. The cab's kind of crunchy. These rockers have been done at least once, but they should be redone again, as you can see. It's sort of solid. I don't want to mess with it, but it's gonna need some attention. Like, even I repaired that, and it's starting to rust through again right here. So, but the frame's solid. A while back I cut the exhaust off. I had regular duals coming behind the mud flaps, and I just did turn downs right there for now, which I don't really like. It kind of drones a little bit, and it doesn't pop like it used to, so I'm gonna put longer pipes back on it eventually. But other than that, the truck's great. Transmission rebuild was awesome, even though it took a long time. My trailer's been fine. I did have one issue. When I built this trailer, I built it to have the sides removable if I wanted to put something really wide on, but the fact is, it takes this 48-inch Skag no problem. Realistically, I'm not going to put anything bigger on, so I'm going to make this more permanent. The oak floor has been great. I stained it with used diesel motor oil at least 4 years ago, maybe 3, and that's held up fantastic. I have no complaints there. Originally, this is a tilt deck trailer, so you pull a pin and the whole deck tilts, and that's great. But if I had multiple things on here, it didn't work. So I made a gate, and the first version of it, I didn't really know what I was doing, and I just kind of welded some T-strap hinges on, and my welds were fine, but the hinges themselves were trash. For one thing, new hinges don't have pins that go straight through. They have pins that are about, they go about 3/4 of the way into, from one hinge point to another. They don't even go all the way in. So they failed because this gate's very heavy. And eventually, it just wasn't working. And the other problem was it held, but the problem was because they sat kind of high in the middle. When I would load stuff on this, especially this, it would catch, because this has a long wheelbase. So that sucked. So eventually I just made something kind of simple. I took some I think that's 1/2-inch pipe, welded one onto the back of the trailer and one onto the gate, heavy welded both sides, and then just some bolts and there's my hinge, and they're vinyl locked, so they can't move. Because I had one that did, and the whole gate was kind of cattywampus. You know, these struts work well. They're pretty simple, but kind of float around and make a lot of noise. But they work, and they're simple. You need a way to hold your gate up, and these are just pins that I welded inside and out. I have had to touch this gate up. It looks pretty good everywhere. They tend to fail up here. That's where all the weight is. But so far so good. Yeah, I guess if probably this is 3/16. Could have used 1/8. This makes it really heavy, and it's long. It's at least 5 feet long. So that adds extra weight. But it's long because this trailer is high. Most of these utility trailers, your deck sits on top, you know, very close to the axle, on top, you know, below the wheels. This sits parallel with your fender, so it's high. For a trailer, it's high, and which makes a short gate, you know, really not possible. It's too steep to load stuff. So that's why the gate's long, and that's why it's heavy. But, you know, basically for what I started with was I stripped this down to nothing. It had plywood sides, plywood floor, looked like shit. And I reinforced it, added some cross members. It's made pretty well. It's a heavy trailer. It does need tires. These are leaking. You know, I put the air in this the other day, and I'm just begging for a blowout with this because that mower is heavy, the trailer is heavy. But it's held on, and because of that, I've procrastinated. There's my spare in my neighbor's lawn that I gotta pick up. Plans for this thing? Thought about Vortec heads, but realistically, I need a dump body. I'm tired of unloading stuff by hand. You can get some decent kits for around $1,500. So as much as I hate taking this body off for a second time, because it's very heavy and it's a ton of work, and now that this bumper is welded in and it's not straight, the guy who did it before I really, you know, knew how to weld, I mean, look at that, you know, it looks like crap. It's strong, but you know, for this to all work, that's gonna have to get separated. So maybe this winter I don't drive this truck in the winter. As soon as they put salt down, I don't use it. But anyway, if you were curious as to what's going on, that's some free junk I get from my friends who own a power equipment place. Sometimes I get some good stuff, nothing too good, but you take the good with the bad. Yeah, that's about it. My gauge is, that's something I need to do sooner rather than later. The temp gauge stopped working. It was a junk one. The tack stopped working, and speedometer broke a long time ago, so I should repair those soon. I'll get Stewart Warner gauges. I'll put good ones in it, and I guess that'll be about it. Keep working, be busy doing lawns for probably till usually around Halloween. And a few fertilizing jobs. Might do a lawn start to finish at some point, and just finish my deck.